Hello there, Alaskans, wherever you are. Welcome to the Must Read Alaska Show. Coming to you from somewhere in Alaska. This is the place where we talk about, you guessed it, Alaska. Where we keep the mainstream media on their toes and where we are standing up for what's right in a world run by leftists. You can find out more by heading over to mustreadalaska.com and also checking out the Must Read Alaska YouTube channel for some really great content. But first, let's get this party started.
Well, welcome everybody to the Must Read Alaska Show. I am your co-host today, John Quick. We have Suzanne Downing with us as well, and we are coming to you live from somewhere in Alaska. Boy, do we have an exciting show for you today. We're going to be talking about all things Alaska, all things political updates, monkeypox, Forrest, Dunbar, the whole 9 yards, and we're pretty excited. We want to first and foremost thank our show sponsor, Charlie Pierce for Governor. Because of Charlie Pierce for Governor, we were able to spread conservative news through all the nooks and crannies of Alaska. And while our competition has $1 million budgets, $10,000 microphones, we are living the dream with $5 headphones. And I'm literally in my bedroom doing this. So we want to thank all of our listeners for making it possible for us to kick the pants off of all of our competition. This week, like I said, we like to brag a little bit about what we do. We are in the top 200 in 3 countries, including the US, on iTunes podcast, which is very exciting for us. Suzanne, we are first going to chat about Forrest Dunbar, which is kind of a very interesting hot topic. He is, for folks that are following us and listening to Must Read Alaska in the last 2 years, you can't help but know that name because he has ran for mayor and lost. He's been one of the mask tyranny candidates that wants to shove COVID rules down everybody in Anchorage's throats the last couple of years. And he has just announced that he's running for Senate because of this kind of, I believe because of some of the redistricting, it sets him up to have a very blue area, and probably nobody else is going to run against him in his party. And he's probably going to skate his way into winning a Senate seat. And this is unfortunate, I think, because he has done so many destructive things in Anchorage, from wanting to buy hotels and turn them into homeless camps. You know, they spent $500,000 on a down payment at a one of those Alaska clubs, and it went nowhere. $500,000 down the tubes. And this is just one of the many things that this lovely Forrest Dunbar has done while in his tyrannical reign on the assembly. What are your thoughts on it, Suzanne?
Well, he is one of our more colorful politicians that we have had in Alaska. He is a product of Alaska. And I know a lot of people think he's a product of San Francisco because he sort of fits in a little bit better with the San Francisco mentality, but he's a very hard partisan leftist, and there's nothing nonpartisan about Forrest Dunbar. He is as far left as they come. And I remember pulling some public records from the Anchorage Assembly and finding a note from him to Chris Constant, one of his buddies, and Chris is running for U.S. House. And he said, we have to come up with something like Must Read Alaska for our side. And then about 2 weeks later, the Blue Alaskan popped up, which was a leftist blog that they funneled a lot of news to. I mean, they had people writing it, and it's kind of fizzled by the wayside because the guy who was running it now has become the communication director for the Alaska Democratic Party. So that's kind of fizzled after about a year. But Forrest Dunbar is... he was online tweeting about how proud he was of his sister and his cousin for being part of the Wall of Moms down in Portland, where they were defending the Antifa rioters from the police. And I mean, this is really his thing. He is about as hardcore as they get. But this new district that's been drawn in mid Anchorage, it's sort of like a UMed district, Muldoon, Midtown kind of area. It's custom built for him. And it's something that we can thank the Alaska Supreme Court for drawing a district just for Forrest Dunbar. And so he's got a very good shot at winning. He'll have plenty of support from his party. He's not well liked by Democrats. I will say that. It's something you might not know, John, because you're in the Kiski and you don't really see it. But I see it up here in Anchorage. There aren't very many Democrats that really like Forrest Dunbar. They tolerate him. Some of them just don't want anything to do with him. He's just such a weirdo. But he's a lawyer. He's a Harvard-trained lawyer, and he's smart, and he worked for the National Guard as a JAG. So sorry about the noise. I got the window open here, and there's somebody pounding outside there. So just bear with me. It's kind of hot in Anchorage today. All of 62 degrees. I got to have the windows open. I see you have a fan on, so you're hot down there in the Kiski. You're hot anyway. You're just hot. You're just a hot guy. Anyway, so Dunbar started out his career by running for Congress, and it was the Run Forrest Run campaign, and he lost to Congressman Young. But all along, he intended to build his name ID so that he could run for assembly, which is often what people do. They'll go big. They'll get their name out there. He ran for assembly. He won. This next time he ran for mayor against Dave Bronson and lost, and that was embarrassing for him because he is so disrespectful and dismissive of Dave Bronson and really characterizes him as a knuckle dragger, and to lose to him was just humiliating. So then he ran again for his own assembly district, and he won. We had a couple of other people in the race that split the vote, and that was unfortunate, because we don't have ranked choice voting in those assembly races. Maybe he would have lost if we'd had that. And now he just won that race a couple of weeks ago, was confirmed and everything. And now he's going to run for state Senate. So this is all part of the plan of him moving up in the world. And I have a feeling if he gets to Juneau, and he probably will, I don't know if we can find anybody who's moderate enough in that district who can actually win. It's a pretty hardcore district. It's got all the university people in it and the medical people. But if it gets to Juneau, I have a feeling what we're going to see is a coalition government with sort of the left-leaning Republicans. I'm thinking, people like Bert Stedman from Sitka, Gary Stevens from Kodiak, and probably see people like Click Bishop if he wins. Click may win from Fairbanks as well, and then whoever fits into Natasha von Imhoff's slot there in South Anchorage. Then get some other people in there like Donnie Olson from Golovin, Nome area, and we'll get some other Democrats that will join a coalition government. I have a feeling that they will put together a coalition government, and it will be left-leaning. It'll be the old kind of run by Democrats, but maybe they'll install a Republican like they did in the House. Remember how they put together this sort of coalition, and they put Louise Stutz in there, and she has an R by her name, so she could have cover because she's really running the caucus. Well, she's not running the caucus. She's just doing what they tell her to do, and that would be the same. They'd probably put in somebody like Bert Stedman as Senate president, and then he's an R, so he could say, "Look I'm in charge," and that's how that would go. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Dunbar is very smart politically, and he uses the Ship Creek group here in Anchorage to run his campaigns and such. So he will have plenty of money, and he'll have good talent. That Ship Creek group is Ship Creek. Oh my gosh, they're up Ship Creek without a paddle, but they're a political consultancy that helps the Democrats, and so that is. That was kind of the news of the morning. That was kind of, he did that after midnight last night. Oh, well.
The thing that the Republican Party, the thing that Forrest Dunbar, at least from my standpoint, when I look at his campaigns and how he speaks and how he interacts with people, it's like the younger crowd / nonpartisan crowd loved this guy. And
not as much as you think. I mean, they tolerate him. I don't know that they love him. I mean, actually, if you get to know him, he's not a pleasant person. Kind of like Chris Constant, not that pleasant.
He's like the when I say that, I mean it's like the guy that buys the $100 hiking pants at REI but never goes on a hike and drives a Subaru. That kind of person. He owns two little puppies, and he's like the very woke 35-year-old that makes $100,000 a year. That type of person loves Forrest Dunbar, And
Fair enough.
But Forrest Dunbar has done, in my opinion, this is one of the things I think the Republican Party needs to figure out, is reaching that demographic, because the 35-year-old that's got a decent amount of money, that has no wife and maybe no kids and got a lot of time on their hands, Forrest Dunbar has figured out a way for that person to donate to his campaign and get excited about him on social media. And so it's one of the things the Republican Party hasn't figured out how to do, is excite that group of folks. And
True.
so
Fair enough.
I think that Forrest Dunbar is going to win this one easily, and it's unfortunate because it's going to be if this monkeypox thing happens like we see it's happening, it's going to mean COVID all over again, but probably even worse, because part of me kind of thinks, well, we shouldn't even talk about monkeypox, but I think we should, because
let's talk about monkeypox. That is such a fun topic, because we all saw this coming. Like, okay, what are the Democrats going to scare us with this time? Well, as it turns out, I mean, COVID is kind of over. Nobody's listening. Nobody cares anymore. It's just people realize this was a ridiculous thing, and people like Forrest Dunbar are the ones who voted to shut down Anchorage, lock down businesses. And multiple times he voted to lock down businesses, and voted for mask mandates, voted to keep the public out of the assembly chambers. And even, when things like, you remember in 2020 when Mayor Ethan Berkowitz canceled the Memorial Day celebration outside. It was an outside celebration. He canceled it because of COVID. And people like Forrest Dunbar were all about that. They didn't show up to the Memorial Day, not celebration, but their recognition at the Veterans Memorial, because they're fear porn mongers. And so now you've got monkeypox coming in just in time to scare everybody. But this one's a little bit different. This one's different, John, because this actually is spreading in America right now. All of the 9 cases have been identified amongst the gay male population having sex with men. Now, later on, it will probably, be something else. It won't be just that. But right now, it's kind of a certain group. It's a male, gay, promiscuous sex group. Now, that means the next group that will get it will be hookers, because that's how that works. And, I'm sorry, you're choking on your coffee there. I can't say that. Is that like illegal? I can't say that. But that's what will happen next, is that, women who are professionals, let's just say it, that, they'll be the ones.
OnlyFans.
Yeah, OnlyFans and Tinder and stuff. I mean, there's going to be a certain group that is going to get this. And it's a little harder, though, when you get monkeypox to disguise it. So when you had COVID, you just, nobody really knows. I mean, a lot of people didn't even show any symptoms or had very mild symptoms. But I think when you get monkeypox, you're going to be staying indoors for several weeks. And then you're going to have a few scars to show for it. And you're going to have some explaining to do. It's going to be really tough. But anyway, that's what's coming up next. And, God bless those people who are out there being super promiscuous in that particular environment, because that is the pox. No offense, but that is a pox on your house, man.
Yeah, and just pay attention to. I'm going to be paying attention to the kind of sequence of events of how the media, amped up all of the things that Fauci was saying about COVID. What is Fauci going to say about monkeypox? It's going to basically, replace the word COVID with monkeypox, and it's probably going to be the exact same playbook.
Yeah, got to have mail-in ballots now, man.
Yeah,
don't you? Yeah, you want to go to the polls and vote, man. You might get monkeypox. It's like that would be even worse.
Yeah, they're going to find 17 different ways that it's now communicable through just breathing, and it's part of me thinks that this is all just some horrible test that they're seeing how far they can push us with. Doesn't matter if it's monkeypox or horsepox, or could be anything, and they're just kind of pressing our buttons, seeing what we're going to do.
Well, you raise a good point there. You really raise a good point, because they've already they've lost so much of the confidence of the public in the entire COVID management. Remember those early days of COVID, we were so frightened because we saw, and we all saw it, videos of people walking down the streets of Wuhan, China, and keeling over, dying in the streets, just like
they had those fog machine blaster things. They were
right. They would and they would just fall down and die because they died of this COVID thing. So we were all told how serious it was, and we all went and stocked up our pantries because we might have to be locked down for months because this was it. This was a big thing. And then as time went on, the medical community got a little more capable of handling it. They understood it better, and the messaging changed. But also, this gets amped up by the media big time. And if they do the same playbook that they did last time, they really can have an effect on the elections. And how they. I hear you've got your little COVID cough. Is that a monkeypox cough?
No,
you got
it's
there?
not monkeypox.
Regular COVID, right?
Just regular COVID, no big deal.
Yeah.
We're going to be, it's funny because we're saying the media and we're the media. What I'm going to always try to do is push people towards thinking about the facts, using reason, thinking through, not listening to the folks on CNN. Our hope is that we aren't spreading fear, we're spreading facts, and we're making you think about, for folks that are listening, we're making you think about the choices that you're going to make with your lives, and not have CNN make those choices for you.
Exactly right. Be critical thinkers. You saw what they did with COVID, and they destroyed the credibility of the CDC. They destroyed the credibility of Fauci because the way that they handled it, it was just so obscene. And so you use your critical thinking when you read all this stuff, either at Must Read Alaska or at CNN or wherever you get your news.
So we had another Republican congressional debate.
Yes, we had one last night. Yeah.
And there's a couple of things that happened, and I wasn't there, but I read your amazing story. And the thing that the one thing that struck out to me was that former Governor Sarah Palin was a no-show. And I think, like, whoever is her person, that's ushering her around, y'all need to have a come to Jesus, because getting endorsements from Ted Nugent and, Kid Rock and whatever, that's cool, awesome. But you're not showing up to the community center to talk to people. And the Republican, these are literally the people that got you elected to be governor. This is literally the exact, these people haven't got anywhere. They're just, 10 years older, 12 years older. These are the exact same group of folks that literally got you elected as governor. And you're snubbing them to go do endorsements of governors in the lower 48. And it's just not a great look. It is a opposite of a good look for small town folks in Alaska. It doesn't negate your success. You're a rock star. You're killing it. You make more money than anybody I know in Alaska. You're just doing awesome, and we love it. But you are not in touch with the everyday person in Alaska, and it is so apparent. Whoever is your manager or ushering you around, y'all need to get a new game plan called Common Sense. Sarah Palin's new plan to Common Sense, and it's showing up to meetings that have 6 people at them. That's what Nick Vegas is doing.
I gotta tell you, thank you for speaking on behalf of the little people. Because quite honestly, you do what you can. Because quite honestly, Sarah doesn't really care about the little people. And that's the thing, is that she was supposed to go out to Bethel, Alaska, and go to a forum out there. They had 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats on this forum that they had. And it's Bethel, and Bethel's a hub community. It's quite an important community in Alaska. And they had Emil Noddy, who's like a historic individual in our state. He was like the one person that ran against Don Young 50 years ago and lost. It was amazing. He's been around that long, old guy. And you had Mary Peltola, who's a native Democrat who's running out running for Congress as well. And then you had Tara Sweeney and Sarah Palin as the Republicans. And then she got to the airport. The plane was late. She decided she didn't want to go. And so she just bailed out on Bethel, Alaska. You can't do that. You can't bail out on small communities. It's an insult. And she did not go to Juneau to the Republican forum there. And then 2 days before this one, she also bailed out on this one. And yet she was also in Georgia, where the cameras were on her. And she was in Jacksonville, Florida, Ponte Vedra, Florida, for an event down there. So you got to wonder, just got to wonder if she's making the right decisions. But here's the deal.
Bad decision.
Here's the deal. She already knows she's in the final four.
Yeah.
She is not running for June 11th. And June 11th, guys, is the last day you can get your ballots in the mail. And you got to get it postmarked by that day. 84,000 ballots have been cast already in our special congressional primary for this seat to replace Don Young. So get your ballots in. Now, of course, everybody watching this podcast has probably already voted and made up their minds. But with Sarah Palin, she knows she's in the final four. She knows she's going to be on the August 16th ballot. So she's not running right now for this. What she's doing is she's just, getting busy, raising money, and she's running for August 16th. And actually, if she had showed up at that event last night, I'm not sure she could have gained any votes there. For one thing, there were 75 people there. A lot of them had already voted. About a third of them had not. But I don't know that she could have done anything but actually lost friends there, because what happens is that Sarah Palin is really good at that soundbite, but she can't go deep. She's really good at the one-liners, amazing at it, but she can't go deep on policy. Her words and her sentences and her paragraphs start to get very jumbled, and she starts to repeat herself, and it's all about America and America first and MAGA, and she just starts inserting all these words together, and they're all the right words, but after a while they sound like a jumble. So it doesn't play to her strengths to go to these things. Now, from here on out, she will hurt herself if she doesn't show up, John. She will hurt herself if she doesn't go to a forum with Nick Begich and Al Gross and Tara Sweeney. Those are the four, I think, right now that I think will probably advance. Maybe Chris Constant. And if she doesn't show up at those, it's really an insult, not to the other candidates, it's an insult to the voters. And that's where I see people online saying, oh, she doesn't need to go and hang out with those losers. She doesn't need to go hang out with, but who are the losers they're talking about? They're talking about Alaskans, 75 Alaskans who paid $40 to go to this event last night, and $40, that pays for the room, and it pays for the the Anchorage Republican women to be able to put money in their account so they can fund Republican candidates. And you had 75 people who cared, and Sarah Palin didn't care. So that's an issue.
Well, it just makes her think like she's the average person. It makes it look like she's too good for that. When she's on Fox News one day endorsing a candidate for governor in Georgia, and then the next day skipping out on a local meeting in Alaska.
Hey, do you think we should have her on our podcast?
Well, just for folks that are going to give us a whole bunch of crap in the comments, just know this. I have personally reached out to Sarah Palin's camp four times, and heard zero back from them. Birds chirping. We've had a socialist Democrat on here talk about his platform, and we disagree with him, but he's brave enough to come on our show.
Yeah.
I reached out to their camp 4 or 5 times, heard nothing. And I think this is where I give I look at the last debate that we just talked about, and I have a lot of respect for Tara Sweeney, because she was in that debate, and
she did great, and she was strong.
Had, 4 or 5. She had the 4 or 3 other guys around her, and she had the no paddle up. A lot of the times when they had the yes paddle up, and that takes a lot of guts. Even if I disagree with all the things that she said no on, I would have voted the opposite of. But it takes a lot of guts to show up to a debate, to stand up for what you believe in, what your platform is. And it takes zero guts to just be a no-show. So I would encourage former Governor Sarah Palin, come on our show, talk to it, talk. We are the conduit to normal Alaskans that are conservative, and we would love to have you talk about what you care about. And I would encourage you to keep showing up to local events because people only know you from your sound bites on Fox News. They want to get to know you as a person, and they helped you win the governor race, and you may not want to snub them when they have a local get together at their small town in Alaska.
Yeah, pro tip from John Quick.
Pro tip: I'm a
Campaign
sell like
consultant
hotcakes.
to stars.
Get them online. $5.99.
That's
Go
right.
on. So the last thing, I don't know what we're on time here, but the last thing I wanted to chat about was so we didn't talk about this beforehand, but one of the things, so we had an emergency here on the Kenai Peninsula.
Oh, you mean the low point? Yeah.
So I wanted to give just some kudos to the state and Mayor Charlie Pierce. So oftentimes we're sitting in the seat, I'm sitting in the seat saying the government's stupid, they're horrible, they don't know what they're doing, they're spending more money than they're taking in, and we oftentimes don't give compliments out. But we had this bad emergency in Low Point, basically a huge landslide, which you can go on our Facebook or just Google Low Point, and there's cell phone footage of it. It's crazy, like a massive amount of.
Oh, it was a big landslide right over the road.
And they had a guy down there. The city of Seward owns the road or maintains the road, and they had a guy down there checking it because a couple rocks had fallen, and so he was down there. They had the road closed. He was down there checking it, and the good Lord must have been watching out for this guy, because if he would have been 100 foot more down the road, which wasn't something that was out of the picture to do, he would have been swept away. So this huge thing came down. Low Point only has this one road access, and we all know how government is. Usually this thing, it'd be a summer project. Literally, that's how these things happen. And Mayor Charlie Pierce is somebody who's a very hands-on approach leader. I know that because I've worked with him, and he immediately saw this was a big deal, and he called the governor up, I think a day or so after that it happened, and said, listen, we got to work together on this thing. The city of Seward, this is too big for the city of Seward. This is a huge thing. And so the city of Seward, the Kenai Borough, the state of Alaska, and probably 5 other people, but those are the 3 major ones, got together, and the road's open today. I think it's open.
Wait. It's supposed to open tomorrow. They opened it
tomorrow.
Today?
The road's open. It opens tomorrow at noon.
Okay. Yeah, they got this private ferry operator to ferry the trucks out of there so you could get your cars out for the people. I don't know. There's about 50 families back there who live in that neighborhood.
Yeah,
and, they did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It was a great picture of government. It only took them
coordinating
about 2 weeks. They all coordinated together.
Yeah,
wasn't a bunch of money spent. We'll see how much money was spent, but it's not going to be a lot. We're talking a couple $100,000 probably at most, and was able to really navigate something that could have been just a horrible, drawn out government deal, and they just got it done. So kudos to the governor and the mayor.
That is really true, and that is a really steep hillside along, or it's practically a mountain right along that road there. Low Point just goes right along the water, and then you're just looking up to practically a sheer cliff. That whole side of that mountain looks like it continued to slide.
Yeah,
I have a feeling it won't be the last time for Low Point.
Yeah, and the brains of the management of it is a lady that works with the borough. Her name is Brenda. She is navigating. I think she's managing. There's like 4. There's this emergency, and there's 2 other huge fires in the Kenai Peninsula Borough. And so she's a rock star. So kudos to Brenda. She's done a great job here on the Kenai Peninsula managing this emergency, and I think it's going to be it's got an emergency declaration, all that kind of stuff. So I know that's a lot of work. So just wanted to make sure that every once in a while government does something well. So kudos to the borough.
Yeah, you're right. That was really a stunning show of coordination and competence and caring, and a lot of big hearts down there in Seward, a lot of big hearts on the Kenai. And by the way, Kenai District 31 is the highest voting area of the state for this current election. So they're also not only clearing the roads from avalanches, but they're getting their ballots in. So no excuse for you.
Nice. Well, that's about it for us here at the Must Read Alaska show. We want to thank our sponsor, Charlie Pierce for Governor, for sponsoring the show. Without him, we're not able to do what we do. So we're very thrilled that he's our show sponsor. And tomorrow, I'm going to be back on here with none other than, drum roll, Jamie Allard, Assemblymember Jamie Allard.
You got to be kidding me. You got Jamie on the show. Good for you.
So she is going to, she's one of my favorite elected officials in the whole state. She puts the fear of God into these folks, and I think it's hilarious.
Oh, yeah. I love me some Jamie Allard. Great. Everybody, you got to tune in tomorrow. It's going to be good. What time are you doing the show?
I'm going to do it at 9 o'clock. So tune in.
Okay.
For folks that are paying attention to the Anchorage politics. Things are getting nuts right now. You got, essentially an ordinance on the table that Constant brought to the table that they could remove the mayor at any given time for a number of different reasons that are very kind of arbitrary. And so Jamie's going to talk about that. She's going to talk about a bunch of other things. It'll be very, very insightful for folks that are paying attention to the Anchorage Assembly. So tune into that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Tomorrow at 9. And you can check Suzanne and I out. We'll be on Monday morning. And until then, from somewhere in Alaska, we're signing off.
Bye, everybody.